Hello and welcome. Happy Tuesday. Let's switch over to that. Cool. And turn this down just a bit. My ear. Actually, I turn the volume up. Okay, desktop audio looks okay. Ooh, bit rate is looks like it's fluctuating, but staying pretty steady. Okay. Oh, there we go. So, I've been thinking about how I want to, since I'll be streaming more. I was thinking trying to do more like for the art streams, more of the things I think people find more interesting, which is watching coming up with the design. It's also where you can get more useful feedback. But since the next step of the current project, I can at least put it out. It is still very nice to look at. But like the next step is I need to do all of the very fine interlacing through this, and that's just something that I can't do and also look at chat or pay attention to chat at all. So I'm just gonna do that off camera. Probably, maybe not later tonight, but on whatever my next day off is. Tonight I've got to finish up the follower art for people. So yeah. So this will probably show up again when I'm testing out some colors and some small patches and like maybe background coloring, but probably won't be seeing a lot of work on this during the art streams. So what I had been thinking about is just one, just sort of free drawing, which is something I haven't really been doing too much of lately, and it's something I have been thinking about getting back into the habit of. But that's probably just going to be like an after work thing. So like at 6 a.m. when I get home. But I've been thinking, like, I've got this idea in my head, and I don't know. I was just gonna kind of work around on it, and if anybody shows up, try and explain it to another person, and if nobody shows up, I'll just sit here and talk to myself like normal. But yeah, so like basically how not work is laid out normally of this 5-dot grid, and so that's how you set all your overs and your unders. And so I'm trying to make this more, I don't know, use this as a framework for something else. Like this one's very simple, but you can, similar to how what happens in this pouch will have a better example. I just have scrap paper everywhere. This works. So like how this point here is like generating outwards. Or here, we've got a piece that comes up and a piece that, comes this way. Well, I mean, that's a lot like this shape here. Tape it down. I suppose one of the nice things about having a million pieces of scraps from this is that I've got a million pieces of scraps that I can just sort of do whatever I want with. So, like this, you could put in, like, I can see that going into, your standard not D here, because you have these, corner pieces that come up that, you know, they share this is a similar shape to here. So now you're sort of working this framework into this framework. But I don't know if it can be like more generalized. I don't know. It's a lot of it's stemming from working on. So we got a new porch, and there are these just large wooden panel sections on them, and I had been planning on like making a design for them, and I'm trying to figure out how I want to fill that design in. So I'm just sort of looking at like motifs that I can put in, but I don't want to be like setting a grid on the whole thing and just being, you know, rigidly this way, you know, like rigidly making, you know, standard-ish knots. And so I'm just trying to think of other ways I can get this effect without, I don't know. I feel like I'm just rambling. Every time I try and draw it out, it also doesn't really come through. But I don't know. We're gonna keep trying. Just leave that page blank. Mostly blank. We can come back and draw on it later. So if we did like a really big grid. Like maybe half. Yeah, it looks okay. My very scientific method of making a grid. And I'm sure if Michael's here or comes on and asks what I'm doing, he will be able to point me to a historic example of how it was done like this. So I will feel slightly better about it at that point, because, you know, usually you are unlikely to be the only person to have ever thought a particular thought. Humans are unique, but we're not that unique. I think. So, what could we do with very... So this would be just sort of a... like a rough guide for what to put in places, I guess. But then I suppose where I run out of ideas is I don't know how to draw anything that's not usually very abstract shapes. And if it's going to end up being very abstract shapes, it just sort of ends up back being into not work again. Let's add some spirals to this. So, I mean, we know that it goes... Yeah, maybe. Maybe I'm onto something. I mean, I guess, you know, whatever. This is not going to be very precise, so I don't know why I'm trying to be like very super. You know, super particular about. Sizing all this stuff in a very tight way. I suppose because I just have a lot of circles to look at. They're like, well, can't you? You know, you can pick a better circle to fit in there, right? Maybe. Also, I'm not really sure what I'm trying to do, so makes it a little difficult to be like, this is the right size of the thing that I want. I mean, maybe, hopefully, like, you can sort of see where I'm trying to go with these, like, spiral bars. I don't know. This feels like too much work for what I'm thinking about, but it's also the first time I'm trying to put down exactly what I'm thinking about, so of course it's gonna seem like I'm doing too much work. My brain's like, duh, just do it. Body's like, we can't. Not yet, anyway. What are we trying to accomplish with all these circles? I mean, obviously spirals, but if it's only spirals, it's kind of boring. It needs to be something spirals and something else, but not really sure what that something else. Discord, I need to figure out how to turn off you sending messages to Cortana, or whatever Microsoft Edge Assistant is called these days. I'm going about this the wrong. I think let's actually go back to a more older way of how I would do stuff. So let's just like make a starting shape of some sort. So, like, in the very abstract sense, I've got a bunch of pieces that they work together, and they have a bunch of different little slots that they can kind of, fit into. And then eventually they'll like coincide into a finished drawing at some point, but I don't normally know what it's gonna be until I get there. Lots of whales. So whales are easy shape. Faces tend to pop out as well, but so that's sort of where I'm trying to get, like, this, but plus not work. I don't know. There's a skill gap or a mental block or something that I need to get over. I'm not quite sure exactly how. But it's there. See, like this shape, it flows out, which is cool, but like, you can put a wall up here, similar to not work, and then it's got to hit the wall, and it does, if this was upside down, it would then, if it was pouring down something, it would then flow along the surface, or you hit a corner and then it starts flowing around into itself. But once you start to, but like if I wanted this to then cross through itself, like this, so now, like, oh, say it goes under. Well, you can't really tell that there was an under to go to just because I don't know. It's very, very deconstructed. There was a post on the Facebook group, the Celtic Art Facebook group, about using chords inside chords, and my practice with it was that it eventually just it's too, like, you lose the interlacing too much. But I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing, but I just don't know how to fill it in so that if you know that it's there, you can see it somehow. Like, it's subtly in the background, like, oh, you get it. This one went over, this section was the more important one, that's why it's more in the foreground. This section was less important, so that's why it's in the background. But as a concept, that sounds like a good concept, but I don't I don't know if I I don't know what I want to put here. I don't know what I can put here. I mean, I guess I could put anything in here, but I don't know. It's this elusive thing that I've been trying to figure out, nail down. Probably not possible to nail down even, but I was gonna try and do just like a 2-hour drawing, but at this point, it's not going to happen. So we're just going to sort of... I think we're just going to spend this time filling a page and then... see what shows up. I mean, probably. Most of you can guess what's going to show up, which is eyeballs. It's a pretty safe bet. It's a very easy shape to make, so it shows up a lot. A lot of people snapping. Friend's cat is a very fat cat. There for a second. Let's try that again. 2, 3, 4. 2. That's fine. Okay. Just a little bit different there for a sec. Is this really 2 chords? I screwed up that much. Thought this was a 1 chord. Oh, no, it is 2. Well then. I wonder if I should implement a regular Twitch rule. If after 30 minutes nobody shows up, then I eat it anyway. Oh, hey. Yeah, I was trying to come up with a new plan on filling in space. So I'm just sort of filling in random space. But also, I'm at the point on the other piece that most of, like, I need to concentrate a lot on what I'm doing so I don't screw it up. So I can't really, like, look at chat and draw at the same time. And, you know, maybe one day my drawing skills will improve to the point that something like, you know, doing the inking for that and doing all the fine lining, I can do it. But today is currently not that day. So we're just sort of filling in space, coming up with space, filling it in. Building a library of ideas for later projects. Hey, how's it going, Dairy Mite? So tonight is my night off. I will be working on your username art. But that's sort of another thing. I've noticed most people don't find the watching me do stuff in Inkscape particularly super interesting either. So this is probably, at least for while the pandemic's going on and nothing happens on the evenings and I've just got time to myself, it'll probably be more of this type of stuff unless I'm working on a project. You know, the design part is fun for people to watch. But then, you know, at some point I need to just finish the project. And getting more input is less and less helpful. I'm doing pretty good. Tuesday, got some pizza dough rising for dinner later. So we're just kind of went off. Well, there is that, but while you're building that presentation, you probably also would like some back and forth with the dialogue, which I can't do if I'm focused 100% on making sure I don't screw up my piece of tracing paper and then have to spend, you know, another 45 minutes getting back to where I just was. Oh, thank you. I mean, it's very cliche, but practice. There's no shortcut for practice. I don't know. I like to find shapes that fit, that like become other shapes or fit nicely into themselves, and sort of shapes that imply motion that also generate motion, if that makes any amount of sense. Like if you're watching heat rising or something, and you just have these swirls that keep growing out into other swirls, or that's what it looks like anyway, but it's just air particles giving way. I mean, I guess, I don't know. I don't think anyone was being any nonsensical. So probably about a year, a little over a year actually. I started streaming on a regular basis in like February, and I will say that those early streams sucked. They were just awful. um, it was probably like a month and a half before I started telling other people that I had a stream that you could watch me do stuff and like do art. Most at that point it was pretty much all art. But I don't know, you just sort of get used to the idea that you will do or say something dumb, and then realize that the faster you get over your fear of saying something dumb and just be like, whoops, that was a weird thing to say or do or whatever, and then you just move on. So, Derry, what do you do in your day-to-day or night-to-night job or day-to-night job? Yeah, pretty much. Or people being like, back in 2015 you said this. I'm like, well, back in 2015, I was dumber. Yeah, it's it can be difficult. I mean, playing Quiplash got me 9 followers in a week, and it took me a year to get the first 40. So, but it's also very, you know, if you can find the right little thing at the right time, you can luck way out. But it's difficult to maintain that if it's not if it like doesn't align with your personality, I think. Hey, that's nice. Congrats on that. I mean, technically all this goes over to YouTube, but it's more of like an archival thing. It's not really something I'm super working on growing, but as I am now altering my sleep schedule, I think something that I should look into is maybe doing some YouTube tutorials for Inkscape. Might be a useful thing to do. Hey, how's it going? One day, January 1st, 2015, I said to myself, Self, we've always wanted to make art. We should draw every day. And then I did. And I have notebooks full of just awful, awful art. Just terrible. But, sorta how it goes. You gotta make a lot of garbage before you start making stuff that's not garbage. I mean, there is, again, until I started doing the Celtic art, I also did not really color anything. It was all black and white pen. Just it contains more than one. I would say there are at least 3 that I can see, but probably even 4. Yeah, sure. If you got like a Facebook page or something that you upload your stuff to, or if you just want to, if you just have Facebook in general. I've got a page you can follow. I mean, if Facebook ever decides to load itself. There we go. Oh, I'm getting there. Boom. Cool, thank you. Always like to get the follows there too. It's unfortunate. Like on my end, it looks pretty solid, like pretty steady. So I've really been thinking about playing with chord thickness a lot. And what some fun things you could do with it is. So do you want me to tag you when I post your art? I can tag you on Facebook as well. At least I think I can tag you. I mean, it does also bear some resemblance to some of my school notebooks. Actually, it mostly looks like my meeting notes. Hey, I mean... I don't know if I would, like, what is an artist, if we want to get into really esoteric discussions. Like, what even is art, man? I really like this, you know, crosshatch filling. Well, I'm out of water. I will be back in a moment. Alright, I'm back. Which horizon did I broaden your eyes to? Got my sweet, sweet throat lubricant. Oh, good. I'm glad I could help. Speaking of broadening horizons, I've been reading just a trashy sci-fi novel that is, it's actually pretty enjoyable. Like, right now, the parts that are good are really good, and the parts that are bad are just weird and goofy, but, like, not, you know, awful or something. It's also apparently the third book in the series. I don't know. I had picked it up randomly from Goodwill. Christopher Rowley? Yeah, Christopher Rowley. This is the book. The Black Ship. And it's totally not Luke Skywalker, and that's totally not the Death Star with the giant green laser. But, after the War for Eternity. I don't know. It's a quick read, that's for sure. Like, the guy does not slow down for getting stuff happening. It starts and it pretty much just keeps going. Yeah, well, I mean, this came out in 1985, so... I mean, I got a stack of books that I'm sitting on to read. Actually, if I'm really gonna invest in a sci-fi author, Ian Banks is probably The Culture. Is one of those ones that everybody talks about online. Yep. No, my dad read Ring World. My brother read Ring World. It has been recommended to me. The Google DeepMind is gonna have a field day with this stuff. Oh, yeah, so it's... I mean, I'm gonna say it's not that complicated, but... I don't know, every time I explain it, I feel less people understand it. So, we'll do DM. Nice and quick here. We'll actually do it yeah, we'll do it on this page. So, we got Morse code, so DM, I believe is that, but I'll make sure. It could be backwards that. It could be dash just a single dot. It's the beauty. You don't actually need to know Morse code. Let's zoom out a little bit so you can see more what I'm doing. Yep, I was right. Cool. There's another thing that you'll pick up with a lot of practice is you will just eventually remember all the Morse code. We're going to turn it this way so I've got a little more space. So now I've got two methods on how I've been doing this. Really haven't decided which one I like more. I feel like it's one of those things that for some it's good for some cases and good in other cases. But so now you have this 4x4 block here. And so then I put the Morse code in, so first spot, dash, then we have a dot, then we have a dot. Now there's nothing here, so I just use a vertical break to indicate that that's the end of this. So like for M, dash, dash, there's nothing here, so drop a vertical breakdown. So then you just do your regular interlacing. I mean, I say regular, but and so then there you go. This is the short form, or this is the full shape, and then, you know, if you like the page, you can see the follower art that I've made before. And, you know, you can sort of figure out how it's going to all be filled in. Now, I mean, on Inkscape, it's it's simpler in some ways and more complicated in other ways, but the gist is the same. Like in Inkscape, I'm not doing these individual pieces. I'm making one long, you know, like one single line, basically, or, you know, however many lines are needed to make the full shape. So it looks like DM is a continuous combination, meaning that it's only going to be one chord. If you start anywhere on the chord, you will go all the way around through all the spaces. And again, the secret is practice. It's not... the rules are pretty simple. You just have to... learn them very well. So this would be like quote-unquote full mode. So I've used, you know, a 2x4 brick for each letter. And then, so then this is like compacted. So this column basically shifts over one, and that does it for all of them. So then the same DM becomes this shape, which is now slightly different. And then I would color code, like if you've seen the Facebook, you know, I color code the parts that are the letters to make it stand out more, but that is a purely aesthetic choice. So now you do the same thing. And also, thank you. I find it very interesting as well. So now we have a slightly similar shape, but it takes up a little less space. And so then this is what has sort of been having, like, kicked off what I was talking about earlier. Like, this idea of using these layouts, but not using knotwork to fill them in, but something else. But the issue is, I don't know how to draw something else. I only know how to draw knots and abstract shapes. Any actual shapes that appear is merely a byproduct of your pareidolia, or whatever the that thing is when you see patterns everywhere. So you can see it's similar-ish, but slightly different, slightly smaller. You basically, it's 1 plus n over 2. I did the math on this at one point. 1, 2, 3, 4. Because you always need to have this guy, and you always need to have this guy. So you've got 2, I think it's 2 plus n over 2 is the answer. This is the newer one, bottom. So you can see it's only got one crossbar. It goes all the way across. So like this would be the highlighted information. Yeah, I mean, it's it approaches but never reaches 50% in length. Because, so like, you know, 2 letters is 4 blocks wide. 2 letters here is only 3. 3, you know, I can add another letter to this and it'll be 4. If I add another letter to this, it's 6. And so on and so forth. But so the thing that I've been trying to come up with a use for is that you know, let's flip this back to the other page. You know, DM now makes, you can make it into this shape. And I feel like I could do, like, you could do this. I could, like, figure out a way to take these ideas and put them into that. And I think that would be very cool. But there is some, you know, it's just a skill gap at this point, I feel, that is preventing me from making the jump to realizing this idea. Yeah, pretty much. Hopefully. It'll probably be while I'm sitting on the porch. Though, I suppose, speaking of eureka moments, while I was after work, I've been just sitting out on the porch because it's nice and cool in the morning and there's nobody around and it's quiet, mostly quiet. And listening intently to birdsong as they woke up with the sun. And it's very interesting that, like, for the like all ranges that I can hear in, there is like unique bird sounds. Only if you're getting into the bath. And I don't take baths, I only take showers. But that was just an observation that I had on sitting around reading trashy sci-fi novels. Yeah. Though they did have indoor plumbing. So who knows? Maybe he could have been taking a shower. Or it's just so much more work than a bath. That day he was just like, eh. Yeah, my brother and father complain about showers being too small. I'm only 5'10". Yeah, that's as tall as my dad. Yeah, I mean that's sort of the idea here. I was saying earlier that like the point that the banner is at pretty much requires my full attention, because I don't want to get 45 minutes in and then be like, oh, doo doo, and just basically have wasted all that time and then need to start over. So that's gonna move to offline mode, so I can focus fully on what I'm doing. So I was thinking changing these to more like a 2-hour project or a 2-hour design, or like if I'm starting out a new project, that work on that, people can see where the design is, and then just I give random updates, be like, here's where I'm at now, looks really cool. But I think to deliver on something that people want to watch, I need to be able to be more engaged with the audience. Otherwise, it's not any different than YouTube. There's no, because then I'm competing with whatever you just want to sort of watch, but with no feedback. And that is a much more difficult market to compete in, where if I can compete with giving audience feedback, then a little better. Well, yeah, I mean, in the 1 week that I did the game night, I got 9 followers, and it took me a year to get to 40. So there's also part of the idea on this is that if I'm getting more people who are wanting to be more engaged, then it would be a good move on my part to make more engaging content. Well, take my art and share it everywhere. Because so many places on the internet are like, why don't we have original content? And then people like myself or, Michael or other artists are like, hey, I made this thing. And then you just get shouted down. No self-promotion. You're like, okay, well. It's the cycle of Reddit. Yeah, I mean, Imager too, but Reddit complains more about it. And they're like, there's no good new content. Posts new content. No, you can't post your own content. Other people have to post your content. How come there's no good new content? And you're just like, well, I don't know what you want from me. So, share far and wide. Going for the extreme hobo look. Oh, right. Let's move that. Oh, because I'm in the wrong... I'm like, why is the... I looked up and I saw that my mic was in the wrong... Or the video was in the wrong spot. And that's because I was on computer, not capture. Well, I'm not nearly flexible enough for that. I mean, I get the idea behind it, I understand, is that subreddits don't want to just become like just places where people go and flog advertisements. But then it sort of gets... I don't know, there's no good... way around it, or I don't have a good solution to this particular issue. Because, like, I've been on websites that let users self-promote, and, like, the areas where you have self-promote, yeah, that's that's basically like what you get is you'll just like, hey, this is the public auction house, and it's just walls of chat spam that are all designed to try and like be super attention grabbing, but because every single one of them is so attention grabbing, like you just can't focus on anything, and it's just like these, like walls of @ symbols, and then like, buy this for 300 bells or whatever. So, like I said, I don't know of a good answer, because to allow endless self-promotion just is just a different type of internet cancer. Oh, hell yeah. Thank you, man. I've also been thinking about, but haven't looked into too hard. So you have like these Twitch, not channels, but what's the word I'm looking for? Groups, maybe? No, no. Where did it go? Yeah, teams. Where you do like art. Well, so if you're in a team, then you auto-host people in the same team. And that is definitely something I've thought about, seeing if there'd be any interest on the Reddits for setting up like an art-focused team. Ooh, it's starting to thunder. But I don't know. Well, I mean, I guess we can do a quick Google. Twitch teams. Twitch team create. I mean, if it's free, then hell, I'll do it. But like if you have to be a partner or, then I cannot. Yeah. Okay. So you have to be a partner to be able to create a team? No. They're not private, but you have to be partnered to create one. And that's sort of what I thought. Well, I mean, I'm going to sit on the porch and enjoy the storm. It's going to be real nice. Yeah, I would say moderately interested. Aw, yeah. Our dog was also fairly inconsolable during storms. It's late, though. I'm trying to adapt myself to a overnight schedule, so I will be also staying up late. It's not the staying up that's so much of a problem, more so the getting to sleep part. That I end up usually having a problem with. Which then just has an annoying knock-on effect for everything else for like... Well, usually until I fix it. Yeah, something like that. Plus, this is just an area that I have not been very comfortable with, of, you know, just making varying chord widths. Well, it's definitely a good way to bring a lot of space into some knot work. Like that opens up a lot of space. It's very nice. Plus double the view count. Ugh. See, let's build off something. It's one very near and dear to me. It's what my logo is, using the simplified metric. So the real progenitor on what was starting me off on thinking about this. I don't know, it feels like you make like rock candy or grow various crystals. You put in your substrate device and then just give it time. Suddenly you got your rock candy, or you got your whatever. Oh, that's unfortunate. Falling off a bicycle or tree, car crash, I mean, there's a number of ways it could have happened. Or you don't know, you just found out that he broke his clavicle. I mean, I shouldn't laugh, but Was he climbing it? Like... Because that's it. Like, I'm just now imagining, yeah, climbing up the front and then you just get up and... We've all seen the YouTube videos. Well, hopefully he has a speedy recovery. Are you the fun uncle, quote unquote? Let's take a deeper look at that. A little larger scale. That's many relatives indeed. Now this looks like something that I should get over onto Inkscape into Redbubble. This little double shell, double horn. Actually, you could even like quadruple it. We'll see if we can't. You know, let's just do it this way. I mean, very rough, but... The hornstone. Horns of Plenty. I don't know. I mean, it'd be bigger, so I'd have more space to do stuff, but, I don't know, this could be an interesting little time sink, little project to work on overnight. I mean, we can also go maximum eyeball. Sure. Yeah. I will be sure to give you some feedback. Sort of feel like this is something that could have been in Yu-Gi-Oh! One of the Millennium puzzles. I mean, the Eye of Horus, or no, I just forgot it. It is the Eye of Horus, right? Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of the iconography. It's that, I guess that one, pun unintended, but there's a lot you can do with it. And, like, it's not like it takes much to... You know, now that I just drew it out, I realized that the, that episode of Star Trek with the masks, I believe it's called Masks, it's the Eye of Horus, but upside down. I never put it together until right now. I mean, it's one of my favorite episodes. Apparently it's not one of the fandom's favorite episodes, but I am I'm a fan of it. I want to see the image. I don't care about... Am I just misremembering? Like it's a line for the horizon, a ray of sun. Alright, I mean, it's too... Trying to search mask and symbol is too generic of a search term. Even using next generation to try and narrow it down. I don't know if you can hear the thunder on the mic, but you're getting some good house rattling. Just a little. But yeah, I mean, the Eye of Horus definitely... It plays a big part in the art, for sure. I mean, I don't know. Fairies are traditionally not, like, the nicest of creatures, so... It's not like you're not violating cultural tradition of fairies. I've also, like, Mesoamerican art I find extremely fascinating, and probably is another thing, if you know about Mesoamerican art, once you're like, oh, that makes sense. I can see how you, I mean, I've been on the internet before. I doubt you've drawn the worst thing I've ever seen done to Tinkerbell. Alright, enjoy. I mean, I'll probably be only streaming for a few more minutes anyway. Probably to go do similar. Take some sweet lightning pictures. Night. Got a little storm right up here. I mean, it's important though. But see, this is the sort of stuff I try and I'm trying to get better at. Like, this is a nice little storm motif. Yeah. You know, you get a couple of little... Build up a little cloud. Now you got a little, you know, gust of wind, or you put a little... Now suddenly you've made a rain cloud. And this is sort of the stuff that I'm trying to get better at, and like put this kind of stuff where, you know, inside of the layouts, rather than using chords, use something like this. Ugh, there's a lot of random stuff. This one never really solidified into a single thing. Oh, it saw a face there briefly. Call this one self-portrait. Sure, what up? Dry lips. Yeah, no, go for it. Anything anything on Facebook. Or, well, Facebook's got my most extensive collection. I've got an Instagram, but because Instagram forces a 4:5 ratio, not a lot of my art fits that. So I don't use it as much. I mean, probably as much as I should, but it's also doesn't fit the size of the content that I make, so I don't feel super inclined. No, that's fine, yeah. Please do. Use it, share it, spread the word far and wide. Yeah, I appreciate you asking, but yep, I am pretty currently share my art wherever you can, attribute me, you know, to it, but share it as far and as wide as you can. You'll start to see Knot D, one of my favorite knots to use. It's just, well, one, I apparently have an affinity for 2x4 sized knots, and this one is that, so it's got that going for it. And two, it's symmetrical. It fits in a lot of places, but you get some nice chunky corners if you want, or you can have nice thin corners. It's just a very versatile knot, probably why it's one of the essential elementary knots. Alright, well, that is going to do it for me for tonight. Had a good time. Sometimes it's just nice to not really be concerned about what you're drawing and let the 62 subs is 60 more than me, I think. I've got my non-streaming YouTube channel has followed my YouTube channel, and then my sister has followed my YouTube channel. So, I mean, it is what it is. But it's just sometimes it's nice to just let the art go for itself and not have to super focus all the time. Let's take a couple of pictures so I can get them up on the Facebooks. Same thing. I mean, I would prefer you send them over to Twitch. But, you know, if they don't have Twitch over there at Real Adamus Services, you know, one day if I ever get 1,000 subs, you know, I can change my YouTube channel to a custom YouTube channel name, but that day is not today. Hell yeah. Sure, I'll get a Gmail notification here in a few moments. I don't think so. I think I captured all the most interesting sections. Alright. So, as I've been saying, as long as we've got the... Oh, hey, do you have a color preference for your art, for your name? You know, blue, red, green, purple, orange, yellow, chartreuse, fuchsia, magenta, you know. Puce, yeah, that's another one. Hell yeah, red and black then. I mean, if you look over at my Twitch logo, you know, mostly red and black. I went to Cincinnati as for my school. Our school colors, red and black. Yeah, I mean, I'll probably do like a gray, but I mean, where are those stickers? I could just pull it up actually. I mean, here's the first logo that I had. Where'd that go? Then I forgot where I put it. So like red, black, and it's like red and black. Like here's a very where'd it go? Scrap images. Yeah, here we go. Here's one that something like this. A lot of red and black. But yeah. Alright, so red, black. Work on that. So yeah, I'm going to be working on that overnight while I set my sleep schedule to be better. Well, thank you very much. But yeah, I'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow will be Wednesday. Be doing another game stream. We can play some more Quiplash. Or, like I've been saying, if there are any other party games that people would find very fun, or, you know, at least as fun as Quiplash, you know, let me know. I'll pick them up. It's, you know, most of them are like $10, so it's not a huge investment for a lot of fun. Until then, bye.